Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Fred, and today I'm going to talk about a phenomena that may not have come to your mind before. The question is, what makes healing contagious? There's real questions about the whole idea of contagion and how we catch diseases or we don't catch diseases from other people. Some people think that if you touch somebody, you're at higher risk, or if someone sneezes, you're at higher risk, or if someone goes to the bathroom, you're at higher risk, or if someone uses drugs, you're at higher risk, or shares drugs, or, that there's some sort of contagion that takes place in that level. And that's how contagion is normally understood, when sort of bad little guys, bad bacteria and viruses or fungi actually pass between two people. But there's another form of contagion here that I want to let you know about that may not be entirely intuitive. And that is the contagion of being healed, the contagion of healing. So I have this very cool story that took place in Southwest Cleveland at the Southwest General Hospital when I was working there about 14 years ago. And in that process, I was working with a geriatric population on what was affectionately or essentially called a dementia unit. And as you can expect, there were people there who were very agitated. Most of the patients there were doing anything from falling asleep in their food, to screaming out in the middle of the night, to falling down, to actually forgetting who their children were, to attacking staff or other peers. It was a really difficult place to be. And I put up with it for a couple months before I decided that it was time for me to actually do something to affect these amazing human beings in a positive way. So what did I choose to do? Well, as the Undoctor, you might have already guessed, what I chose to do was take away their psychiatric medicines, like to actually begin to fairly radically remove the medicines that I felt they no longer needed and were probably not doing them well. As I took away each medicine, these patients got better. They got way better, reliably better, and profoundly better, and in fact began to heal. So many of them were no longer falling asleep in their food. They were no longer screaming in the night or no longer attacking staff or peers, and they were no longer falling down. They were actually remembering things and remembering their children, and it was a remarkable experience, to say the very least. But as one began to heal, it seemed like their neighbor then began to heal. When people saw the pleasure and the joy and the freedom that comes from living a life of some degree of healing, they wanted to jump in naturally. So people are actually tuned to jumping into being healed, and that's what I noticed on the unit. So to be honest with you, before too long, this same group that was like completely, incapacitated with their so-called mental illness began to be very functional. And before too long, they were telling stories, nostalgic stories about their life, and they were playing Trivial Pursuit of all things with each other and playing pretty well. And all of a sudden, we all wanted to gather around them to listen to their wisdom. And they wanted to gather around each other. And in fact, a few of them actually fell in love with each other. And it was cool relationships that grew out of that unit. And what was probably most striking was that their children were shocked that they could now remember them and know them, just by the simple act of treating them as humans and taking away the toxic medication that they had been accumulating over the years and were now clearly dysfunctioning, clearly hurting them in the long run and making them less functional. This exploration really showed me how contagion itself could be defined by people becoming healed, people becoming cured, and people finding that freedom, and then others like moving fast, like actually showing up to acquire the same sort of condition they have, one of being healed, one of being free, one of being cured. It was a remarkable experience. I really loved it. I hope you love the story as well. Thank you for listening. I wish you the best. Have a great day. Bye for now.
What if nothing was ever wrong with you? For decades, people have been told otherwise. Diagnoses, labels, prescriptions, each sending the same message: you're broken. But the truth is, you were never broken. Dr. Fred Moss knows this better than anyone. After 45 years as a psychiatrist and thousands of prescriptions written, he realized the system doesn't heal. It manages, numbs, and keeps people dependent. That's why he created the Undoctor Reset. An 8-week guided journey to reclaim raw aliveness and freedom. Participants dismantle the illusion that they are their diagnosis, reignite authentic vitality through daily practices, and rebuild their identity on truth, not labels. And because healing happens in connection, the program includes live group sessions where community becomes the real medicine. If you're ready to stop living as a patient and start living as your whole, powerful self, visit undoctorreset.com and begin your reset today. Because you are never broken.